Yo, what is good, YouTube? In today's video, I got my updated best settings for you guys to use here so you can absolutely dominate in Warzone, drop high kill gameplays, just be able to slide and glide around. It's going to be awesome. So that being said, man, let's hop straight into the settings. First thing we're hopping into here is going to be my button layout. I currently play on tactical flip, so I went and switched this from default to tactical, and then of course have my triggers flipped so I can shoot with my top two triggers, or I can shoot with my my top right one. I can aim with the top left one. I personally find it to be a little bit better. It also just feels natural for me, given that I grew up playing on PlayStation, and for the longest time we used L1, R1. Of course, this controller shows Xbox buttons. That's just kind of how they have it set up. I'd prefer PlayStation buttons, but it is what it is. I like the controller, so I'm having to deal with that. But that is what I have, and I play on tactical flip. So I recommend for you guys to play on tactical, though. If you're going to be using a regular controller, that way you can do your slide canceling stuff properly. It's hugely beneficial in Warzone. But let's get into anything else here. So I'm after that. My stick layout is just going to be on default. I don't think you guys need to change that. It's not really beneficial. On my horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity, so they switched this over from like the 1 to 20, basically to this weird like 1 through 4.0 setting. I played on a 6.6 prior, and so then it auto converted me to about a 1.4. I heard, relatively speaking, that the conversion is about a 1.4, 1.42 is a proper 6.6. So if you're playing whatever sensitivity you're on beforehand, you're going to have to kind of mess around with it. But as a baseline marker, a 1.4 should relatively be a 6.6 sensitivity. So just to kind of keep that in mind, I always suggest for people to play on a bit of a lower sense than a higher sense. It does make a difference. You're not going to be as accurate on a higher sense for the majority of people. The best players in the world do play on a lower sensitivity. So after that, we're going to go down here for the simplified controls. That's off. That is going to be off. Bumper ping is off. Of course, my swap is going to be on. That's what allows me to have tactical flip. So that's something I personally like to have. You can use it. It's not like mandatory by any means, but for me, it just feels natural. So I have it on. Also, my controller vibration, this is either on or off. It kind of just depends on if my controller is acting up or not. It seems to kind of be there, not be there. It doesn't really bother me. You can have it on or off. It's not going to make that much of a difference in your gameplay. Some people say it messes up your aim. I personally don't believe that. It's just whatever feels comfortable for you at that point. Now down into the dead zones here, this is something that will be personal preference / not personal preference, and I'll explain why. So if I just go here and I can test my stick dead zones real quick. If I test my dead zones, you guys can see that I barely have any stick drift at all. It's maybe 1%. Maybe 2. So that being said, that is on my left stick, not my right stick, which is actually a little bit better. Kind of makes me move a little bit kind of up by default, but my left stick minimum is at a 0 and my right stick minimum is also at a 0. I like to tell people to put this on a low of a number as possible. The default, I think, is like 15 or something like that. So I'd recommend for you guys to dial it down, because if you take that and you think about it, like you can see the circle that's right next to my face cam there. When you think about when you have a 15% or 15 dead zone, that means you have 15 degrees of movement in which nothing is happening in game. So you're moving your stick, but absolutely nothing is happening in game. So I don't like that. I want it to be a 0, because when I move my stick, I want to be able to move and act and react and stuff like that. So I believe that is what you guys should be using. So I would say work your way down from whatever you're playing at. I played at like a 7, a 5, a 3, and then a 0. I gradually worked my way down, because going from like 15 to 0 is going to feel real weird. You might be able to get used to it, but it's going to feel real odd when you don't, like if you haven't been using it. Also, my left stick minimum is at a 60. My right stick is at 99. This is something I'll explain as well. So basically, because your left stick is what you move with, you're going back and forth, I basically make it so that I only have 60% of that to work with, meaning that I hit my maximum input, press forward, sideways, any which direction at, when it reaches that 60%. So I only have 60% of that to use, which means that I engage my full sprint, my full sideways at 60%. I don't need to go to the full end in order to get that full engagement. This just kind of cuts it off a little bit early. I still get great movement. It actually just allows you to react faster. So I'd recommend for you guys to dial back your left stick max to 60, and your right stick should be at 99. This is, of course, your aiming stick. We don't need to mess with this at all. We want the full range of movement for our right thumb. We don't want to mess with that. That is not necessary. Also down here for my left trigger, right trigger, I'd recommend for these to be on like a 0, just because of this scuff has hair triggers, and they are so sensitive that when I had it on a 0, I'd randomly stim shot, randomly throwing knife, and I didn't want to do that. So I just put it up to a 15, because it's a hair click, basically a mouse click trigger for me anyways. So that doesn't matter, but I recommend for everyone that doesn't have one of these controllers to basically be on like a 0 because you don't need to have dead zones on these. Now over here into your aiming category, we're gonna go in here to sensitivity multiplier. This is something you guys need to take a look at. The only setting in here, realistically speaking, you have to mess with is your ADS sensitivity multiplier. This will be on default a 1.0. I'd suggest for you guys to move this down to about a 0.9, 0.8, or in my case a 0.7. I personally felt that my aim was a little bit off when I played Black Ops 6 when I had a 0.8 coming from, you know, Warzone 3, and so I dialed it back a little bit, and my aim has felt very, very sticky ever since. So I really like having a 0.70 right there. And just to kind of put this into perspective, I play on a 6.6 sensitivity, but then when I start aiming, I dial it down to 0.70 or 70% of my 6.6. So it makes it harder for me to come off target, you know, when I'm aiming, and so I really like that. I think everybody should dial this back a little bit. Start with like a 0.9 or a 0.8 or something like that, or a 0.85, and see what works for you, but it will make your aim better dialing it from a 1.0 back. Now in the same tab here, going into aiming advanced settings, we're gonna click on this, and we don't have to do any of this like look inversion. That's not really necessary. What we're gonna do is go down here to your ADS sensitivity transition timing. This, like it says, reset to gradual. That is the default, and that is very, very bad. That means that your aim assist is going to ramp up from basically no aim assist or like nothing when you're sprinting around up into like full aim assist when you're sprinting, when you like, you know, are zoomed in on somebody. But we want it to be an instantaneous transition. We don't want it to be a gradual ramp up that makes your aim feel very shaky, very off. And this is going to help you when you zoom in to have the exact 100% strong aim assist that you want. I mean, we're on controller, there's aim assist for a reason. You might as well use the settings to your advantage. So this right here is something you should be having at instant. Gradual is just not good, and especially after zoom, that's almost even worse. Have it at instant. And of course, your aim response curve type, just down here a little bit more. This can be basically on like standard or dynamic. I wouldn't really recommend linear. I know some people have gone in there and done crazy stuff with like dynamic, and they dial it back from like, you know, the slope curve down to like a 0.3 or something, which in a weird way is just kind of making it linear. That just like, you know, makes the curve more flat. We don't need that, so I don't know why someone would do that. I'd recommend for you guys just be on standard or dynamic, see what works best for you. I've been playing on standard, and if you can tell by my gameplays on my channel, my aim is pretty good and it feels great for me. So try out the two of those, and it's not going to make that much of a difference, but I'd recommend to stay away from linear. Now, kind of backing out of that, here we can just hit that show more button to go down. Aim response curve slope scale, this is what I was just mentioning. Just keep this at a 1.0. We don't need to mess with it. There's really no reason to do that. We don't have to get that nitty gritty with it. Like, what's really going to matter is your skill level more than like your aim response curve slope scale. This is something that I've really never messed with, felt inclined to do so because my aim is good, my settings feel great. I don't think anyone here needs to mess with that. Of course, down here in the aiming tab, once again, backed out from that, target aim assist is on, ADS aim assist is on, and we don't really have to go in here to your motion sensor advanced settings, but kind of go in here, you can click on this and it says FOV sensitivity scaling. Mine is on. I don't really think this inherently does a whole lot. I've seen people talking about how aim assist feels weird. Keep in mind, this game is riddled with bugs and glitches, so this might make a difference. Just turn this on if it is off for you somehow, and maybe it might make a difference for your aim and how good it feels. I just have kept it on, and it's never really been off for me, so I can't say yay or nay on how much of a difference it makes. Now moving over into the movement tab here, we have sprint assist, and this right here should be on tactical sprint assist. This is your automatic tac sprint. So this is what you want to have on. I don't believe you should have it on or off, just tactical sprint assist. And hitting that drop down show more menu, you want your sprint assist delay to be at 0. We don't need any delay. That is just gonna slow down the game. The game's already got enough clunky, weird animations. We don't need to slow ourselves down more. So we have that on 0. And the sprint assist sideways, keep that on, and backwards. That is nice to have. We don't need to turn that off. It just allows you to be more fluid in the game. So we're gonna keep that right there. Mantle assist is off. I don't want to have any help mantling. Crouch assist is off, and same with my corner slice. This is one of those things where you could totally leave corner slice on. It's not going to be make or break. It's not going to totally, you know, chalk your gameplay, but I don't really want to do any of that leaning stuff. It's not beneficial for me, so I turn it off. Now moving down here to some important stuff, your movement behaviors. So we can see slide/dive behavior. This is going to be on tap to slide. This is what you want to have it on if you're going to be doing any of your slide canceling, stuff like that. Hugely beneficial, especially when you're trying to slide to the left, right, backwards, anything like that. You want to have this on tap to slide, nothing else. We need to like the show more, and also this should just be on short. You want to have the least amount of delay in animations. So for instance, if you want to do a dolphin dive, let's say you're trying to jump off a roof or something, then dolphin dive parachute, like you want to have this to be as short as possible. You're not going to accidentally hold it in too long unless you're just, you know, not that great at the game. You won't hold it in too long. Most people just tap it real quick, and it's never going to be long enough to the point where you're accidentally going to dolphin dive, unless you somehow panic, clinch the controller and do that. But I don't really think many people do that. Now let's go on down here. Your automatic airborne mantle, you can keep this on. This is nice to have. Sprint restore on, slide maintain sprint on. And of course, this right here, your mantle cancels reload. You want to keep that on. That seems to be just a good setting to have. I haven't really experimented with this being off too much, but I also haven't had any issues with it being on. So we can even go in here to your movement advanced settings. Just kind of take a look at some stuff in here. I don't think there's a ton of stuff you guys need to like mess with. Overall, this is just stuff you should have on kind of by default. Now in your combat tab here, this is something I want to kind of go over and show you guys a few settings here that are going to be nice. Your aim down sight behavior, this should just by default be on hold. If you change this off hold, I don't know what you're doing. That is just completely a pointless setting to have on toggle. That would be awful to have. Your attack stance behavior can be on toggle. This doesn't really matter what you have it on. Your weapon mount activation doesn't really matter either. Dedicated melee weapon activation, you can just hold melee. So if you want to whip out your knife, for instance, and run around with your knife and get infinite attack sprint, then you can do that. And then of course your body shield / finishing move behavior can be on prioritize whatever. It doesn't really matter. I mean, mine's prioritized finishing move, but I can still body shield. I don't really ever go for the body shield. It's not really something that's in my gameplay. So I just kind of take people out, maybe in an execution if I feel like I want to be a little bit extra with it. But otherwise, I'm just hitting the throwing knives and they're down, and I'm just kind of trying to keep it moving. So armor plate behavior is going to be on apply all, usually beneficial. You're getting into a gunfight, someone shoots at you, you run away, you want to be able to tap or hold the button once, have it to resupply all of your plates. Very nice to have, so I'd recommend that. C4 detonation, we don't need to have that, and or we can just have it all at once, my bad. Equipment behavior can be on hold. Manual fire behavior, just have that on press, of course. And now let's get into your combat advanced settings. A couple things in here that are going to be nice to mess with. So this down here, your interact / reload behavior, mine is on prioritize interact. What this does, it allows me to jump in, get down there on the ground, and instantly tap on something to open a crate, pick up a gun, so on and so forth. It can sometimes work against you, but that's just the nature of, you know, the thing. It's not going to be any better to have anything else, so you will have to get used to, if you're not used to just tapping on things on the ground, to, you know, tapping on and then holding to reload when you're around a bunch of loot and items you can pick up. So recommend for that. You're going to die way more often having tap to reload. This is great for multiplayer since you're not focused on picking stuff up, whereas Warzone, you are focused on looting and picking stuff up all the time. You just have it on tap, and then when you're buying stuff, hold down your reload button, whether it be X or square or whatever, you know, platform you're on. I think that's beneficial to have. So we're going to keep that there. Sprint cancels reload, want to keep this off. When you have this on, it makes the game feel real clunky and weird, especially since there's all like the weird the omni movement stuff. So we want to just keep this off. We want to make sure that our sprint does not cancel our reload. So and if you want to cancel your reload, you can just YY, you know, with hitting your actual YY if you're on Xbox, or triangle on console, that, you know, on PlayStation, my bad. So that is something you should just have right there. And of course, your akimbo behavior should be on independent. ADS stick swap off, and depleted ammo switch can be on. Now just for a couple settings here that I think are going to be great for everybody, regardless if you're on PC or console, is going to be underneath the view tab. You go to graphics, go to view, and your motion reduction preset, this is just going to be off. We don't really need to have this on. We're just going to do all this ourselves. So your field of view, this is something right here that I personally like to play on 120. I know some pro players play around maybe 115, 110, maybe like a 109, something around there. But I think for the mass majority of people that are playing this game casually or just trying to enjoy the game, 120 field of view is going to do you the most benefit. So I would say for you guys to go ahead and run this. It does ultimately make the most sense. No, you're not going to lose aim assist by playing at 120 FOV. That is complete like fallacy. That is not true. If you're going to lose aim assist, it's because some other glitch in the game, not because of, you know, your field of view, or you're just maybe not hitting your shots anyways, you're not good. So this is not going to do it to you. Your aim assist will be fine. ADS field of view, if you're going to be playing at 120, make sure this is unaffected. What this does is prevents you from zooming in from, you know, from 120 FOV into 80 to 90 when you ADS. We don't need that giant discrepancy every time we aim. it really just is not good. So we want to keep this out at 120 fully when you aim in. Everything will look a little bit smaller, but that also does help with visual recoil and stuff like that. So benefits, disadvantages. If you can't see, maybe keeping it on independence better, but if you have decent eyesight, putting it on affected overall will be better for your gameplay. And most people should just be playing on probably like a monitor or something that's not super far away, like the TV. So this will be better for a majority of people anyways. Weapon field of view, this can be on wide. This basically makes your weapon look a little bit smaller on screen. It does make it look too small, but there's no reason for it to be on narrow, so it looks massive. It just takes up too much of your screen. We want to be able to see what's going on around us in Warzone, and this helps you to do that. Third person FOV should just be at 90. Vehicle field of view should just be on wide. World motion blur off. Weapon motion blur off. We don't need to have any of that going. And your first and third person should be on 50%. And this can be right down here, off or on for your inverted flashbang. I don't really care either way. I'm probably going to die if I get hit by enough of those things. So it doesn't matter if it's black or white. I'm probably still going to get, I'm probably going to die. For last thing here, I want to give you guys something to at least make your game look better. So we're going to go into interface. We're going to go in here, head over to readability. So we're going to scroll on down here to color customization. This is probably a tab many people don't mess with. So we're going to click onto that. And you can see your HUD color palette can be on whatever. This is where you can choose however you want your icons to look and match. I don't personally change any of this. I find it to be okay as is. So I just leave mine at default. But what you guys want to do is, regardless of what you got your colors on, is you want to go down here to your color filter target. You want to change this to filter 2. This is going to be the best one. And your color filter target should be on both, not just world or interface. And then your world in a color intensity and your interface color intensity should both be at 100. This will make it so that your game looks a lot more vibrant in the menu and in game. It'll make people easier to pick out. I don't have really any color correction on my game apart from some very, very minor stuff that I can't see because it's on my recording software, not what I see in game. But my actual game looks very colorful as a result of this. And I have no NVIDIA filters or anything else like that. It's just only what's on the game and it looks beautiful. So I'd suggest for you guys to go ahead and put those on. Well, that's my full settings. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to do me a favor and give it a like, subscribe with notifications turned on, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.